to Startuprad.io, your podcast and YouTube blog covering the German startup scene with news, interviews, and live events.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is Joe from Startuprad.io, the authority on German, Swiss and Austrian startups. Are you a startup founder, executive or investor looking for insights into the future of startups in Germany? Today we're diving into the 2024 Deutscher Startup Monitor, which reveals fascinating trends about B2B, sustainability and challenges shaping the startup system. Stay tuned to find out how your startup can thrive amidst these changes. Let's see a few facts here from the core results. 79.8, so almost 80%, are looking for an improved business climate in 2024. 74.7% of German startups now focus on B2B customers. That means more than almost 3/4, more than 2/3 of these startups in Germany are B2B, are basically our home turf. Whether it's scaling your business, securing those all-important B2B clients, or navigating the ever-tightening funding landscape, you've got the insights you need to stay ahead. Let's kick things off with some numbers. 74.7% of startups in Germany are now generating revenue primarily from B2B customers. This is not only the large entities, but also the very big share of German economy that is SMEs, small and medium enterprises, or in German KMU, kleine und mittelständische Unternehmen. This shows a shift from consumer-focused models to stable, long-term relationships that B2B clients offer, especially in sectors like SaaS and enterprise software. The first take is B2B is the future of startups, at least here in Germany. We're seeing companies like Celonis and Personio, two of the three most valuable German startups, making their mark in this space by focusing on offering high-value, scalable solutions. Secondly, profitability is now front and center, 78.8%. So again, almost 80% of startups are prioritizing profits over rapid growth, especially in today's economic climate. This is a major shift from the growth at all costs mentality we've seen in the past few years. And third, sustainability is still on the rise. Nearly half of all startups identify as part of the green economy. They are focused on eco-friendly solutions, which isn't just good for the planet, it's also a major draw for investors who are prioritizing ESG. Question for you. What's been the biggest challenge for your startup this year? It is finding clients, securing funding, or maybe scaling up? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're finding this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more insights on startups and entrepreneurship. To give you a little idea about the diversity of the German startup ecosystem, a lot of news coverage is always focused on Berlin, and I have to say increasingly on Munich, as you can see from this graphic here. Only around, let's make it round, 19% of startups that participated in this survey, not the total startups, but the startups that participated in this survey are based in Berlin, that's here, and 90% are in North Rhine-Westphalia, which is the most populous state within Germany. Also, Bavaria is doing pretty good with almost 17%, and Baden-Württemberg, known for places like Stuttgart being the home of Mercedes, Porsche, and so on and so forth, with a big machine building industry there as well, has 12.5% of the startups in there. And then there are a few also ran, which only have 0 point something percent. Also, the state of Hessen is doing a respectable middle field position with 6.4% on the startups participating in this survey. Let's go to the top 10 industries. There is information and communication technology, medtech and healthcare is number 2 already with 11%. Food and consumer goods is 7.6%. EdTechs make up more than 5%. Energy and electricity, this is where you'll find a lot of the green startups. They are ranking around 5%. Mobility and logistics as well. Not surprising that since Germany is in the core of Europe and there's a lot of traffic going on. Plus, Germany is still very heavy on industry, so there has to be a lot of goods transported around. HR tech, also almost at 5% with 4.9%. Chemistry and biology, 4.5%. Keep in mind that healthcare, especially biotech startups, that would be more in the biology cluster here, depending on how you define those individual startups, are important in Germany, as well as the chemical industry makes up a big chunk of the German industry as it is right now. Industrial goods make up 3.9% and the prop techs 3.4%. The business models here are not that surprising. More than a third are software as a service. Almost 12% are online platforms. A little bit over 10% are software development. And now here comes the catch. Only 6.4% of the startups, again, participating in this survey. In terms of digital business models, they are still e-commerce startups. So that means less than 7% of the startups in Germany. Let's make the assumption that it's a pretty good translation, this survey, of the real startup economy here. Less than 7% of the startups are still in e-commerce. Keep in mind, a few years ago, what you had, like all the big e-commerce startups everybody talked about from Berlin, they are now taking a backseat to other industries. And in terms of like hybrid digital and physical model, there is, of course, technology development and production, a big chunk. Almost a fourth. And in terms of simply analog startup models, there is services still a pretty big chunk here. In terms of employment, you have seen that startups have big headcounts and they've been drastically cutting back on headcounts, especially the big startups. But what you can see in the survey here is that almost a quarter of startups don't have any employees. They are mostly just the founders. Then you have like below 5 employees. It's around 30%. Then you have 5 to 9 employees. It's around, I would say 18%. And you have 10 to 20 employees, which made up almost 20% last year, 2023, but have been going down to a little bit over 16% this year. Then you have the next bracket with 30 to almost 50, 49 employees. They also have been going down from almost 5% to a little bit over 3.5%. And the 50 and more employees, they have also been going down. So in terms of larger employment, you have seen the effects of the tech job rack, or however you want to call it, the long list of layoffs we have seen from all across Germany, Austria, and Switzerland in the last few months. Surprisingly, that is an effect you have seen in the startups with more employees, but actually only around 14% of the startups say they have less headcount. Again, around 30% has been steady, and more than half, almost over 55%, have been growing in terms of headcounts. that is attributable to the smaller startups hiring the people getting laid off. It's easier for them to hire. Plus, we do hope that also their business is going much, much better. Again, founding in a team is very successful, as it has been in the past. The founders have been a little bit older, with the biggest chunk made up of people between 25 and 34, and the second biggest chunk between 35 and 44. The founders below 35 have been declining for more than 10%. Quick question for you. What's been the biggest challenge for you this year? Is it finding clients, securing funding, or maybe scaling up? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're finding this video helpful, please give us a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more insights on startups and entrepreneurship. Another surprising fact we have found is that in the past, especially during the very early stages of the Berlin startup ecosystem, the WHU Otto Beisheim Schule, Otto Beisheim School of Management in Wallenda, close to Koblenz, has been the absolute champion in that. Now, the number one founder university they come from is the Technical University München. The second one is the RWTH Aachen, which is a very technical university focused on machine and automotive building. They're famous for that. Next one is University Cologne. Then the WHU comes in, and then we have a few surprises, including number 5, Technical University of Dresden. Then we have Technical University Berlin, the LMU in Munich, Ludwig-Maximilians-Universität. Another surprise is number 8, Universität Mannheim. Number 9, Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, KIT, formerly known as Technical University Karlsruhe. And then we have another surprise for me is the University Paderborn. Not surprising, the Humboldt University in Berlin is one of the big universities there, and there's a big ecosystem there, but also the Technical University of Dortmund has been a big surprise here. Now let's dive a bit deeper. One of the more concerning insights from the monitor is that only 37.5% of startups report having good collaboration opportunities with established companies. This is a challenge, especially when partnerships can help you scale and build trust. And keep in mind the large percentage of startups that are focusing on B2B. We are also seeing that deep tech and AI-driven solutions are becoming crucial. With 11.4% of startups focusing on deep tech, this sector is rapidly growing in importance. AI isn't just a buzzword anymore, it's becoming the backbone of many startups. Take, for example, HR tech unicorn Personio, a German SaaS company that's grown by focusing on simplifying HR processes for small and medium-sized enterprises. By offering real, tangible value to its B2B clients, it has become one of the fastest growing startups in Germany. Something we as Startuprad.io always had at the core is B2B startups. But what's fascinating in this graphics here is that it has always been around at least 2/3 of the markets focusing on B2B clients in the German startup scene, now going up to almost 75%. In the same take, the share of B2C startups is slowly declining from formerly a little bit over 28% in 2018 to below 20% this survey. And the business to government B2G has been steadily hovering around 5%, with now hitting a 5.9% here. Also, an interesting effect is healthcare is the top interesting industry as seen by the founders, followed by education, energy, industry, mobility and logistics, public administration, agriculture, and the fintech, bank and insurances, they only make up 10.4% of the replies when asked what is the future industry as viewed from a startup founder. And then we have food, retail, and media. What I personally also found interesting is what you can see here, a growth by more than 30% on which startup is counting itself among the green economy. Started in 2019 around 36% and now almost reaching a little bit over 48%, almost 50% of startups associate themselves with the green economy. This is also quite fascinating. That shows the desire or the demand for external capital, meaning in 2023, almost 70% have been looking for external funding, and almost 75% are now looking in 2024 for external funding. The largest groups of answers is less than 500,000 euros, as well as somewhere between 500,000 and 2 million euros. So you could say the vast majority of startups in Germany is looking for funding below 2 million euros. Then we do have 23% looking for 2 to 10 million euros, and around 5.7, almost 6% only are looking for 10 million euros and more in external funding. We've seen that almost 75% of startups that reply to the survey are looking for external funding, most of them below 2 million. But the preferred funding option is actually government funding, followed by business angels, followed by venture capital, followed by strategic investors, and only somewhere around less than 5% are looking for venture debt funding. This is an interesting graph in terms of how the German startup scene has been growing and matured. That means in 2014, we had 1 unicorn and 2 billion startup investments across Germany. In 2021, we had a high point with 26 startups and 15.8 billion euros in startup investments. And now for 2024, forecasted for the rest of the year, we are looking at 32 unicorns here in Germany and 7.1 billion euros in startup investments. It is also interesting to score who has the most unicorns in terms of cities. Berlin with 18, Munich with 8. Interestingly, the little town of Bruchsal, home to Volocopter, with 1, Chemnitz 1, Dresden 1, Frankfurt am Main 1, and Cologne 1, compared to other international hubs. For example, San Francisco has more than 170 unicorns, New York still almost 120, Beijing 64, London 43, Shanghai 38, and Berlin comes in at number 10 in this global count, with 18 unicorns, and Munich on number 26 with 8 unicorns. In the past, Germany had a reputation for not being very startup friendly. Surprisingly, more than 80% of the founders who would found again in Germany, almost 84%. More than 80% would also found in Berlin again, and almost 85% would found the company again in Munich. What we also find interesting is how much more positive the perception of the business climate is for startups versus the general economy. You may remember that we always have the IFO Geschäftsklimaindex, the IFO Business Climate Index that is given monthly in our monthly startup news. What you can see here in this graphic is basically that it has always been much, much better with the startups. For example, in 2019, 8.8%, 8.8 points for the general IFO business climate versus 50.6 52.7% for these startups. But what you can also see that in 2022, 23, and 24, the general business climate, according to IFO, has been negative. It has been positive for the startups, but coming down from 51.6% down to 39% according to this survey. So the mood is better in the startup part of the German economy, but it is also declining, and it has been declining since 2021, according to the German Startup Monitor. Another very interesting piece of information here is what political party those entrepreneurs are preferring, with a vast lead for Bündnis 90 Die Grünen, the Green Party, 41.3%, followed by FDP, that are the Free Democrats, usually the party of entrepreneurs, but it can only convince 21.4% in this survey, followed by CDU, CSU, the former party, the party of former Chancellor Angela Merkel, with 15.8%, followed by a very new party called Volt, which is not yet in Bundestag, followed with a mere 5.5% for SPD, that is the party of the current Chancellor, followed by the right wing AfD, but with only 3%, followed by the left party with only 2.2%. So that means the two of the three parties that make up the current German government are very favorable seen by the entrepreneurs, but the party of the Chancellor is not doing that well. Guys, that was it for me. A very, very short trip through a lot of data. Everybody who'd like to learn more, you can go on our blog, Startuprad.io/blog, or just go on Startuprad.io and click on the blog. We'll have a series of 10 articles on the German Startup Monitor coming up for you in the next 10 working days. If you found value in today's video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And if you're interested in more content on growing your startup or insights from the startup ecosystem, hit that subscribe button and check out my other videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next episode.
That's all, folks. Find more news, streams, events, and interviews at www.startuprad.io. Remember, sharing is caring.